Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back to Beyond Your Radio. It's Unknown Sundays. This one a little bit late. It's time to talk about another band, an artist, or something in the music multiverse that might relatively be unknown to most, some missed, that our watchers, our collectors might be very, very interested in, a rabbit hole to go down. And today's one is an immediate one of those. It could be a great exception in this whole thing. Obviously, this is an extension of our article section on beyondyourradio.com, where I've written in full detail all about this band as much as possible that I know and how I came to be within it, and some links. If you're not subscribed yet, please do so. If you're looking for great artist recommendations like this is not one of the known, unless you're in a certain field of music. This is a dark blues rock. So let's just get this off, right? This is a last minute Unknown Sunday. I was struck, and I love when I'm struck. I love it too when I'm run over by how hard, raw, and heavy or blueser of an album a band or an artist can perform. As you probably suspect, I read a lot of line articles. I troll lists and all kinds of Reddit discussions, arenas, although I never participate, as I'm usually a little late to the partaking and party of those things. Our panelist, Mr. Steven Scouten, had a really intriguing list of alt country, blues rock at the end of the year, which kind of got me thinking about that genre and that dark side and how far it could be taken or pushed. And if people were taking it and pushing it that far today, maybe in a general of the Man in Black kind of thing, but in a darker, heavier, electrified way. And now, obviously, I know that the algorithms push certain bands and things like that, but this is not where we are and what we're talking about here. So there was an article that had a link to an entire playlist regarding this. I took the dive into that, and some of the bands, the list of artists I had an inkling of, but there were some that I did not. This one stuck out because I knew I'd heard it before, the name, but I don't think I ever played it. It kind of gets lost in those lists that I started. Like, I'm going to get to this. I'm going to get to this. But then years later, I find out that I did not. Yes, I was looking for something potentially as morbid as it possibly could be. And I was looking for that in blues realm to keep it dark because I hadn't really gone that way and keep it dark. So what I found was an Australian band that seemed to have this very pulse that also had an amplitude to it, though, and a soul leveraged vocal that rose above and beyond the expectation what this would kind of be. I put that very record on Album for Today just on the 10th, and it was just the B-sides of the actual album that they did back in 2011 called In Stereo. This is the Blackwater Fever on Unknown Sundays 2026. Now, this all starts in the root of blues at the vocal and hand of Shane Hicks. I don't know if it's being born in Australia brings that about or the mood, but Shane has a voice that reminds me greatly in the depth and soul of Jimmy Barnes. I'm not saying this is an exact copy. What I'm saying is there's an emotional connection. There's a rawness to it. There's a fabulous grip that he has no matter what he does, saying in the delivery that is both raw and soulful, which makes anything possible within the field of musical play, as was pretty much with The Truth with Jimmy Barnes, who did country, who did blues, who did rock, and was in one of the most famous bands Australia ever had. And he's still doing this today. When I went through the record, I had to make a decision considering the placement at this point. The Blackwater Fever had 3 prior records, and they had 2 more after that, the latest being in 2022. And based on the 22 album cover, and we'll get back to this, I decided to go backwards instead of go to the beginning or the end and work my way back. So Abused Blues in 2006 is an EP. It's not your standard EP in technicality. It's an old world EP, like a real put it out there, get it done kind of thing. And like Bad Company, Motorhead, Anthrax, Bad Religion, and Black Sabbath, you see where I'm going here? No, you don't probably. They decide to name their song in them, their band, one in the same. While the recording rages in the raw, there is no question that this band, actually a duo, will with Shane slinging electric, dark and blues guitar and vocal, while Rick DeMarco is playing drums. It's very cool. It's punchy and a mark on your audio soul that feels almost like going back in time, but something being plugged darkly in rather than that porch broken down dark fireplace kind of thing, not fireplace, but maybe just an open fire campfire thing, kind of backwoods songs. The swampiness here is more than the guitar work. It's located somehow in Hicks's delivery. It's very present on the band's named track, but more so in the guttural Back for You. But I'm coming back for you. So 5 songs, 16 minutes, the impression that's left, and I can understand why they were a contest winner and this kind of thing that had to be dealt with. And that's what I love about this band. I can't talk enough about how great the EP was. I'm still kind of reeling from Night Creeper, the instrumental that's at the end. There's something you really generally don't do when you've got to gain people and get a word in an EP and you're going to do an instrumental. Well, they did. Take the Black Keys, all right, their Delta Cream, and push it to the evilest brink, and you'll maybe reach the depth of what I'm talking about and what this is. But by the time I'm at the Depths in 2013 record, which finds us at a change of drummer from to Andrew Walter, I'm finding eeriness in the addition of synth and keyboard. And of course, there was someone brought in for that too, utilizing the guitar to maybe linger in that, but that wasn't the case. He's actually brought in an individual for that. So there's this like lingering organ sound on the opening track that has me convinced me the band is full on propulsion for bigger and greater things, but they're still muddy, and it's unflinchingly so, and inserts this sort of sounds like that song that's on there called Can't Help Yourself. This band can't help itself. Shane can't help himself. He's just sinking, but the guitar work is not saying this is that this falls in hard rock's fairway, but to some degree, but in the genre of rooted, dark, heavy stoner blues rock, I'm starting to feel a heft that is very, very real. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell came out in 2013 that buried this album called The Depths? Drake, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce, boom, boom, boom. Even Daft Punk, okay, whatever, but The Vampire Weekend, Queens of the Stone Age. I'm sorry, but when I'm listening to this 2013 album, it seems miserably, pitifully the same, except maybe Queens of the Stone Age. So here's The Depths, which should have been like one of those standout records, but it never really sees any light of day that I'm aware of. Even Arcade's Fire Reflector came out in that region, and that's a great in that time frame. So you get what I mean. The trend throughout, and the albums do not sound the same. None of them do, but they're rooted, and they hit hard, they hit stoner, they hit even these sleazy kind of feelings, and but the swampiness. This is a really, really superlative band. And a guy at the helm who just knows how to make this work. Sort of like that guy from the Black Keys we'd talk about. So Shane Hicks has a bit of an AKA. Yeah, he's if you're interested, he has this Dusty Miles, which is a side thing. What do you call it? An AKA, a persona. This is a slight toned down and moody blues kind of sort. Not the band Moody Blues, but it showcases that soulful impression his vocal can leave in another format, and doesn't have harsh riff or the eccentric, darkened electricity or the ferocity of the Black Fever, but it's still an interesting rabbit hole for you to check out too, along with this. So while drummers have moved on, and that's probably something that kind of happens in this bunch where you got a lead guy who's he needs you as he's the vessel and you're there. I guess you'd lose kind of interest, maybe. I don't know. But after Delusions in 2018, and the EP, much like what they did with In Stereo B-Sides, comes out, Shane decides that the expansion that had included a keyboard and backing vocals along with drums needed to shapeshift the sound of the band, and with that, get something called Temptator in 2022, which brings about like this new phase, maybe much more removed their signature off to the side or shifted it a bit. When that signature, before we step into this final part of Blackwater Fever on Unknown Sundays, got them on tour with, and this is where I remember them. I remember people telling me when I went to see Clutch about the bands that Clutch brings in and their connection to that. They don't like the record labels telling them what bands are going to be on. They pick the bands. They did it with Amigo the Devil and a wonderful blues guitarist, Bergman. And somebody was telling me that they had seen a band, and this was the band they had seen. It was the Blackwater Fever. So when I talk about this, it's not only Amigo the Devil, Clutch, Tame Impala, and the band that I mentioned at the very start. Yes, they opened for the Black Keys. Can you imagine? Once you listen to this, you could imagine. That signature also got them on a major network and TV shows to add to the incredible soundtracks of things like Shameless, Evil, and The Following. But also, not to mention, Australian movies have used as well. And two of them that kind of got on this side of things, is called The Crossing and The Tunnel. So finally, let's talk about this 2022 album, Temptator, because if this is where you start, this is a lot more. The look at the logo has changed as well. It's kind of modern shifted. There's a significant modification there. The cover art is also not in the teetering somewhere between the old world, because the television set is very old, but this red wave and things, and there's a dark wave kind of over it. But we're holding that television in our heart because we want it. It's old, and that's where this has always been. So when this album kicks off, we're not in the typical blues laid coffin feeling that, but maybe in just a general alt rocker here, which is kind of an unusual start to a record for them. But there's a modernization here, taking a plunge and sludge over the band. The slowness is musically intentional, and the key. There's even a part where the key drifting and up and down the keyboard in the song called My Weakness puts on notice that we're kind of treading on an unsteady, bitter, and dark seas of a different kind and a different sound to some degree. Not immensely, but enough. However, I admit that even though harder and alternative driven, there's even a Pearl Jam Nirvana thing in this song called Everything Always, that it's a speed pace thing that they've never done, but perhaps the one that slays this record and puts my ear on notice that this Australian Lone Ranger of an artist is finding new places to soak his bleak blues blood in is Ode to Old John Doe. As it puts him in the orchestral drum and violin under a deeper tone and a wrenching kind of man in black vocal position. There's more surprises, and I don't want to spoil them for you because when you go to the rabbit hole, there's just so much, and I think a lot of you are going to love this kind of thing. I'm going to state that this is one of the damn near best new Australian sustaining bands and bands right now in the world that are not breaking through. But in Australia, they know this all too well. This band has shades of the temperament and blues understanding of what a riff needs, like AC/DC did. They have a vitriolic kind of position that has this Michael Hutchins in excess kind of thing with how to make a lyrical line linger. And again, the Jimmy Barnes thing. There's just something about this band. Now, I'm going to not leave you with my words. Let me leave you with the community in the music multiverse that's talking about this band, trying sort of like, not desperately, but truthfully to make a statement. The quote is this: "Dark river of vitriolic rock and roll. A thunderous, tortured electric guitar rips through the room. An organ spins a heavy swirl like some wicked preacher summoning the devil's church. The rhythmic stomp of an unrelenting drum kit kind of rattles you down to the bone marrow. And if you close your eyes, you can almost smell the swamp and feel the moonlight on your face. It's hard to believe such an atmospheric blues-heavy storm could come from just three unassuming dudes, breaking your heart 1 minute with a harrowing growl, only to pick you up with an irresistible rocker the next. It's this Brisbane's based blues rock trio are a live experience not to be missed." The other quote: "An authentic slap of grime, mud, and hopeless regret. A true raw essence. A guttural and heartbroken howl. The Blackwater Fever albums. Abused Blues EP, which came out in 2006. Sweet Misery, 2008. In Stereo, 2011. The Depths, 2013. Sweet Misery and In Stereo were both remixed and remastered in 2017. Delusions came out in 2018, along with Delusions B-Sides EP in 2018. In Stereo B-Sides album, which I put on album for today for the 10th, was put out on 2019. And then came Temptator in 2022. What did you think of the Blackwater Fever? Share your experiences if you know from Australia or having seen the band with Clutch. Love to know, love to hear it. I really think this is one of those missed and shouldn't be. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course, as well as TikTok now. We've got articles, videos, and podcasts coming soon. Albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hand on is the idea, and this is one of those. The Blackwater Fever could happen at any point in time. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. I'm sorry for the lateness, but the death of Bob Weir, and we wanted to put together something very magical for that, and you'll see that probably over the next day or two. Thanks for watching, and happy listening.